low center of gravity transmission. This transmission will fit several skid plates with an adapter or by drilling 2 holes to get it mounted. This transmission may be small, but it is mighty. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe and join me on the other side. Welcome to Henry's RC Garage. We've got the Reefs RC low center of gravity transmission. We're going to review the different skid plates for it today that I have on hand, which is not limited to that. So on their website, they have the ability for you to purchase and download the STL files for 5 of the adapter plates for those skid plates. We've got the capper standard. That will have the standard, they call it the standard motor on it, like this one here, the in-runner. And then they've got the flat one here that has the for the outrunner, which is this one right here. This is an outrunner. And with that, we have the SCX10 Pro skid plate adapter. With that. And then we've got the SX103 / Basecamp / CJ7 / JK / Gladiator adapter plate for those skids. And then we've got the VFD skid adapter for that. And that will fit the VS410 skid plate and the VRD skid plate. What it won't do is it won't fit the VFD twin skid plate. So let's review some of this here. For each one of these, I printed out in PLA, 100% infill. I pre-drilled out all the drill holes that screws are going to go into. I used a 3/32 drill bit. For any of the holes that the screw is going to go through and go into the transmission, I used an 1/8" drill bit. For the capper standard, I used 4 of the M3x12s for that. And then for the flat one, for the outrunner, I use 4 of the M3x8s for that. For the SCX10 skid Pro for the skid plate, I use 2 of the M3x10s, which is these 2 holes here and here. Those will be flush, so it won't interfere with the transmission. So on the other side, I use M3x14s or M3x16s with a nut for that. For the SCX103, Basecamp, CJ7, and JK, or the Gladiator, I used the screws I used for that. I used M3x12s, and I used a spacer because those M3x12s come up through the adapter a little bit, and it'll interfere with the transmission sitting flat. So I used M3x1.5 spacers for that to lift up the transmission so it wouldn't interfere with those screws. With the VFD plate, what I used there is I used 2 of the M3x10s, and I used for the VS410s skid plates for the VFD, I used an M3x16. For the VRD, I used an M3x20 for the front part of this. And let's just go through and review these real quick. Here is the capper skid. This comes with either the capper kit or the capper ready to run. This is the 1/10 scale, by the way. I used those 4 screws put in there. I also used some of those gold spacers that you get from when you buy a servo. In the capper skid, it also has the countersunk holes here. So what I did is I just used those. I put those in and I used them as like a spacer, right? So like a washer type thing, and I screwed into the adapter with that. An aftermarket skid plate. This is from Spare Times Hobbies. I used the flat skid plate for this, or the adapter plate. With that, I'm using screws for that. I'm using 4 of the M3x14s. Because it's raised, the skid plate is raised on top, I am using 2.5 spacers for 3 of the screws. And then for the 4th screw, the middle screw here, I'm using a 1.5. Because this screw right here in the middle here is raised up a little bit, I am using a 1.5 spacer to raise the transmission up so the transmission wouldn't get interfered with that screw. With that, those are the Capra mounts. The SCX10 Pro, these 2 screws here are going to be the M3x10s, which will be flush with the mount, the adapter mount. And then these 2 here are the M3x16s that I'm using. You can also use M3x14. The M3x16s, I got a nut on it. The 14 will sit lower than that. You won't need a nut. Just the nut just more secures it down for me. With that, we've got the SCX10 III. These are going to fit. These little grooves, these little knobs here for the screws. You're going to put them in this hole here and this hole here. You're going to use that. This will have, again, this will have the M3x12s, and because the M3x12s come up above the plate a little bit, you're going to use 1.5 spacers to lift up the transmission a little bit. So we got that going on. And then with the VS410s or the VRD, we've got the skid here for the VFD transmissions. So real quick, we're gonna review the VS410 skid, right? So this is for a 3-link setup, and then you've got the hole here, the 2 holes, along with the 2 holes here. This would be the M3x10s, and then you've got the 1 screw hole here for the M3x16 for the front of that to stiffen that up a little bit. So the VRD, so I got a VRD skid plate here. So the VRD skid, we've got the 2 holes. Again, the skid here, the screw holes for this skid and the screw holes for the VS410 for the VFD match up. So, but this one's a little different. This is going to be a 4-link setup, and I'm using the M3x10s, and then over here I'm using an M3x20, and I've got the links put in there as well. So that gives you a little idea how that's going to go all together. To give a little bit more clarity on the VS410s, we've got a VS410 for the VFD twin. This will not work with this plate because we don't really have anything to screw this into. So this will not work. So as you can see here, you'll see the different screw holes. You've got this plate will work because the screw holes are here, and this plate will not work because there's no screw holes for this to mount into. So this will only work with the non-twin, the VFD non-twins. So real quick, we're gonna mount this motor up to this plate. This motor will only go in one way. You've got the 3 grooves here, and then you got the 3 screws here. So that's what those go into. Before you mount this plate to this transmission, you want to put the motor on because this screw is being covered up partially by the plate itself. So you take the plate off, you put the motor on, you screw the motor in, get it all lined up with the spur gear, and then you put the 2 screws back in for the plate. And then for here, you just kind of take your screws and match it up to the grooves on the adapter. And then you'll use your M3x8 button heads, and you'll put those on, and then you get those screwed in. I'm kind of glad that Reefs did this, for their transmission. It helps us get some other options out there so that we're not limited. At least with these plates, we have a few different options to use this transmission in a few different crawler/trail trucks. So here again, we're gonna put this in. We're gonna use M3x10s for this. And let's get our screwdriver here. Get our other one. like I was saying, we've got this front here, so we're going to, because you know it'd be a little loose, so we're going to use an M3x16, and we're going to screw that in. And like I was saying before, you screw that in there, and this one's a 3-link setup, so there's no 4th link. But your C channel rail will be already on here, and then you just put the screw in, and that's pretty much simply done. We'll put that away for a minute, and then so Reefs also supplies a template for you to drill 2 holes. 42 millimeters apart for either a blank skid that you can get from like G-Speed, or you can use it on an existing skid that you have that already has holes in it and you want to drill 2 more. What I did was I had a G-Speed skid plate here. This is their Delrin. There's white Delrin, I believe. What I did was I drilled just 1 hole. So I drilled this hole here, and I used an existing hole that I already had in the skid. So I only need to drill 1 hole. And I countersunk that. And then when I did that, this is the edge of the transmission. So from the back of the skid to the edge of the transmission, I went 20 millimeters, and then I drilled my hole. And then that matched up with this, and I was able to put my transmission on, and that's pretty much what we have. So again, we've got some adapters here that you can 3D print. You can purchase and download those STL files from Reef's website itself, and it saves you a lot of time. Again, just print them out in 100% infill. Pre-drill all your holes that screw's going to go into with a 3/32 drill bit, and any hole for the screw going into the transmission, you can use an 1/8" drill bit. That's pretty much what I have here for you today. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.